I'm Asia Marnovic, a puppeteer from South Africa, and I work for a puppetry company called the Paper Body Collective. And this is a full body puppet technique of making a paper puppet, a full life-size paper puppet that I've developed over the past 15 years, and which is really good for application in when you need to build a full body anatomical puppets that needs to do ontological human movements, so very realistic human movements. And you can use them for choreographies, and what we're going to be using them for later is a system of rasas, which is interpreting emotions through the body. And these puppets are really great for that because they are made out of only 2 pieces of paper, and they have a very strong, coherent skin that runs through them because there are no joins. So the puppet itself is created so that there are no bits or bobs that can actually be pulled off or fall off. Usually when people are building paper puppets, they try to stick pieces on. But what happens is that actually disrupts the flow, the muscle flow of the actual puppet. So this is designed so that the puppet can imitate and take on as much naturalistic movement as possible. Okay. And helping me in the demonstration is Donna Kota from South Africa. She's a puppeteer from Barrydale in South Africa, and Donna specializes in large-scale and life-size puppetry work. So she's going to be helping me to make the puppet. And students from Queen's University in Belfast, who've just done a workshop with us this morning on Rasas and paper puppetry. The first thing that we do when we are building a full-size, life-size paper puppet is roll out 2 long pieces of paper. Now this is just plain newsprint paper, which gets used quite a lot in paper puppetry performances because it comes in one long roll which can be up to 100 meters in length. So it's really great to pull off 2 really long pieces of paper. But now because we're making them perfectly anatomical, what we're going to do is actually measure them on a human body when we get to that point of measuring out the length of the body and we will go literally from the heel of the foot to the crown of the head when we're doing that. So it's good to have someone with you so that you can actually measure the puppet on that person. And even better if it's the actual puppeteer who's going to be working with the puppet, because then you can create the puppets to be exactly the right size for that puppeteer. So we take 2 long pieces. The first piece should be at least 6 meters in length as a minimum, so that you have a little bit of extra paper. And then what we do is we actually take the paper, it's actually smooth when you get it, crisp, someone described earlier, and you texturize it and you soften the paper by scrunching it. So these have been scrunched already, but we'll just show you a little bit. So once you've got your 2 pieces of paper, you take your longest piece of paper, and Donna, if you can just stand for me, and you fold it in half. And you can try and be as accurate as possible when folding the piece of paper in half, right down the center. You can even make a line. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fold the top half of the paper and start to roll it. And after rolling, fold it into a ball. Okay, so this ball is going to be the inside of our puppet's head. In essence, it's the puppet brain that we're actually forming now. And then we just do 1 scrunch on its neck. So you also don't want to overbend your paper because you still want some structural integrity to the paper. You don't want to soften it too much so that it still holds some shape and form. 1 scrunch, and then we put 1 single piece of masking tape there to hold the paper in place. There we go. The other thing is when people are first starting to learn how to make a puppet, they put an excessive amount of tape on to the joints when it's absolutely not necessary. And what that does is it actually limits and stops the movement. And we're going to need lots of movement in our neck. Okay? So we want that neck to be as loose as possible, yeah? So this is the first part of our head. Then, Shay, if you'll come here. So Shay, if you can hold it up in line with Donna's head. Okay? That's it. So we want to, this puppet is going to be a replica of Donna. This is going to be Donna's paper puppet. So we want to, this is when Donna's puppeteering it, she's going to be the principal puppeteer. She's going to be holding this puppet in front of her. And we want the puppet heads to hopefully be in line with her head. So what we do is we just make a scrunch, yeah, in line with Donna's midriff. So preferably in line with her belly button. And we put one little piece of masking tape there for the fact that the paper is so flimsy. So they think that because the paper is flimsy, they need to make strong, build up bulk in it, but it's not necessary. And then, okay, so now the trick is to keep it there and to keep this point exactly in line with Donna's midriff, okay? And not to drop it. So whoever's helping you should not drop the height of the puppet, because we want to get the height of the puppet precise so that our tension in the puppet body is strong. So now what's good to do at this point, when you're forming the heels of the feet, what you want to do when you're forming the heels of the feet is begin to develop the tension in the paper. And you do that by pulling up in the head, Shay, but making sure that the head doesn't rise above Donna's head. Okay? And pulling down in the feet. So pull up in the head until there's tension between where we're pulling the heels into the ground and where Shay is pulling the head up without the paper rising above Donna's head. So then we know at that point of tension, on both puppet legs, that we have a structurally sound, full-length body of tape on each heel. And then you can do whatever you want with the feet. These are massive. So for this purpose, we don't need fancy feet. We're just going to tear the toes off. And you can make them equal in length. And there we have the skeleton of the puppet. We're going to put the skin of the head on, which is going to also become the two arms. Okay, so again, Donna, we measure it out. So this is a smaller piece of paper. It doesn't have to be as long. It only needs to be as long as from the head to the tip of the hands, plus a little bit of extra length. You're going to wrap the hood of the skin around the head. Give it a little squeeze. It's flexible, and you know you can build a face here. You can structure it. A little bit of masking tape. You want to keep that neck as flexible as possible without being floppy. Typically, your hands, your fingertips should reach to mid-thigh, right? So what we'll do is, yeah, so if you'll just hold her up. So if her thighs, so you want your arm and your hands to reach to about mid-thigh on your puppet. Some people like longer arms in their puppets. Okay. So the wrist would be just below the bum area, and you'll make your wrist there. And then we measure the arms out to equal length. And again, we tie a wrist. Just one tie. You can make more elaborate hands, but for paper puppets, we like to maintain the quality of paper as well. once you've constructed the inside of your puppet, which is essentially the skeleton of the puppet, the inside of the brain, leading into the skeleton, leading into the feet, that's balanced correctly along the length of the performer of that puppet, and you've wrapped your skin around the top of the puppet, which forms the arms, you're going to make the joints in the arms by bending the paper in one direction. So you bend it in towards the body and give it one strong scrunch so that the arm takes the shape of that bend. And then you do the same on the knees. You bend the knees of the puppet forward and you make a scrunch on the knees so that the puppet is able to bend in one direction, making sure that the joints don't bend in the opposite direction. Where we have a full life-size paper puppet.